Hello, guys. Today, we've got a deck profile to you. I actually went 4-0 in the store champ and won the store champ. Got my Nats invite finally. After making like 17th and 18th and 19th and 31st and all these things in these regionals and tournaments and just barely missing top 16, we finally made first place store champ to get a Nats invite. This was a stacked first place too. Lots of national competitors, including people like Ying or Just Human there. And we managed to top it all with my deck of the format. I don't know if I'm going to keep playing, but Armor. Specifically this guy. This guy is just broken right now. And I know a lot of people have questions like, why Armor? Why'd you play Armor? There's like so many new toys to play with and whatnot. And my thought process was like, considering all the new decks in the game right now, not a lot of decks can just deal with a Magnamon on board. My main thing is Shoutmon, right? Like Shoutmon's only out to Magnamon is either a Dexmon to de-Digivolve, which then I still keep a blocker usually, in the case of Armor. I'm sorry, regular Magnamon, or Sunrise Buster. But they can only do that so many times before they run out of options, and then once they run out of options, they just slam a Dex and they just can't deal with it anymore. So that's the main reason why I played it. It's also decent against Jesmon. Like the blockers can't attack it, or like he has to first attack with Jesmon, which then gets recovery, and then they have to deal with the armor and yada yada yada. So like it's decent against Jesmon, decent against Minerva Loop. It's fast enough to deal with these decks sometimes if you if they're too aggressive. What are some of the decks I played against? Really good against Blue Flare. Just like once again, like Blue Flare is another deck that just can't deal with Magnamon X a lot of the time. What are some of the decks I did some practice versus? Black War Gray had a pretty good matchup versus Black War Gray. Just generally having enough bodies and like being able to swing over guys. And then like Dexmon is pretty much uninterrupted by things like Psychmon because you can just evolve into Lydramon, swing over the Psych, Solar, Chikuri, whichever one it is, and then just play your Dex. Dexmon just being an insanely powerful card this format, just super good. And yeah, I was just having a fairly consistent time in most matchups when I was testing this deck, and I figured a lot of people would be playing Shoutmon pretty early in the format, and I felt this deck's matchup against Shoutmon is so strong that it was worth me giving it a try. So we're gonna go ahead and go over the deck list. We're not playing some of the aggressive stuff like Fire Rocket or Chimeramon. We're actually going a more recovery-based route, using of course Magnamon X to recover, and also Shakomon as another form of recovery as well, just so we can extend games longer and be able to swing, maybe set up some of the Davis and Ken plays where you evolve into a Vmon, or you swing jamming Vmon, evolve, restand it, swing again, the armor breaks, and then you have another Davis and Ken, you evolve, restand, swing again, the armor breaks, and you evolve into Magnamon, who does restand on itself, swing again, and then maybe Jogris into Shakomon for game, or Lobomon. So that was the game plan. It turned out pretty well. My matchups were round 1 with Shoutmon, which was just play Magnamon, and I know game 1 it was just play Magnamon, right? Do Magnamon things, play enough bodies. They can't clear it fast enough with the red yellow option, who I just said a second ago that I can't remember the name of anymore. Game 2 they just rushed me down because that's what Shaman does sometimes. Sometimes they're just too fast for you. And then game 3 was Magnamon X, Death Xmon game. Then I played against Mastamon, a very tamer killing focused Magnamon deck, who literally just plays a bunch of sword defeats, and the purple tamer that like whenever you hard play a purple yellow Digimon lets you tap to gain a memory. And yes, that deck is a lot more difficult because DP reduction decks are way more difficult to deal with, which is why we play the yellow option, that whenever we evolve into a Magnamon, its DP can be reduced. But yeah, DP reduction effects and Chaos Degen, both very powerful effects that are hard for me to deal with. But of course, we are a very aggressive deck, and we can deal with a lot of the rookies on board thanks to Lydramon. And Death X is just Death X, so That's pretty good there. That was round 2. Round 3, we played against Ying, who was also playing a Mastermon deck. This is more of a deck out version. He wasn't able to get the deck out at the end of the game 1, and then game 2, we just rushed him down with like five or six swings by turn 2. And my final game was against a Rise Greymon deck list that played Sukuya Maid Mode, and then just kept putting I can't remember the name of the red yellow option off the top of my head, but Sunrise Buster. They kept putting Sunrise Buster on top of my security, Holy Wave. So the game lasted a really long time, but game one, we just rushed them down really quickly. Game 2, we lost from just a dragged out game, and game 3, we managed to just the game was also dragged out, but we managed to get there just by swinging a bunch with and having a good Magnamons and keeping his that game was really interesting because every now and then they put Sunrise Buster, and I know that they'd have to play a Tamer so that the following turn the Sunrise Buster gets hit, they play another Tamer, and that'd be exactly enough to deal with Magnamon X, but then they would have enough bodies for me to play a Death X one for really cheap. So we kind of just let our Magnamon X die, which gave us a recovery because Magnamon X goes to the security, and then play Death Xmon as an immediate replacement because they put another body to make Death Xmon cheaper. So yeah, that is a deck. As you can tell, Death Xmon is a hell of a card. I'm just going to go ahead and go over the deck list real quick since I explained most of the matchups and how the deck works already. Just 4 Upamon and 1 Demi-V to start with. This can be anything. This can be the new Baby Demon as another guaranteed way to draw. I wanted 5 eggs because, like I said earlier, the games get dragged out pretty often because your Magnamon X is just the best stall tactic in the game probably at the moment, and I like to have as much draw option as possible. I chose Demi-V because I play Jamming Vmon and it's just a guaranteed draw. But Baby Demon, which is like if their opponent has 2 bodies on board, draw a card, is probably just as good. I have to test it. I haven't tested it myself yet. Upamon is just always going to be strong. They're always going to have like Psychmon or Gazumon or some variants of those 2 on board. So having Upamon is just pretty decent. Go over the rookies. We are playing 15 rookies. Let's see. We are playing 4 Jamming V because I just like the aggression of Jamming V. You don't have to play 4. I chose to play 4. I'm also not playing any like tech cards like Madoki Beta or anything of the sorts. I found that in my testing with playing stuff like Madoki Beta, it just kept getting in the way. They're not Vmon, so they make evolution a lot more expensive, and they're just not Vmon. They're not searchable. Like they're not free. So they're not searchable by the Vmons. They're not free types. So they're not searchable by most things. The thing they're searchable by is like Davis. Excuse me. So I didn't like it. After a while I cut it out. I felt like it was unnecessary in my matchups anyways. So yeah, we're just playing Vmons in this list. We are playing 4 of the when this becomes unsuspended, gain a memory, Vmon. At first I was only playing 2, but as I played the deck more and more, the ability to extend my plays with this Vmon just was nicer and nicer. So I just kept adding more and more and more of this Vmon in until I've decided that it's just really good and I like it, so I'm going to keep it. Play 3 of the best searcher Vmon. This is the one that searches for any 2-color card that includes blue. This includes your Megadeth, this includes Shakomon, this includes your Magnamon X, because unfortunately this Vmon cannot search Magnamon X. It can search every other card. Oh, this also includes Davis and Ken, by the way. But this searches for free, and Magnamon X is not free, I believe. I have to double check. I'm pretty sure Magnamon X is not free. Yeah, it's not free. So it doesn't actually search for Magnamon X, which made this card a lot less interesting to me because the point of this deck is to find your Magnamon X as quickly as possible and evolve into it and just keep it up there while you play the game, so your opponent can't play the game. So that's why this is only a 3 of. I still liked having the option to play down a thing and search because it still searches the rest of your armors, it searches other rookies, it searches Shakomon as well. So I still liked having this card, but not as much as I liked having this card. Obviously, if you want to cut this down from Madoki Meta, feel free to. If there's any other rookie you want to play, feel free to cut this Vmon down. Or if you want to play the other draw, if you have 7 or less cards in your hand, draw. I believe, or 8 or less, one of the 2. You can play that Vmon as well. That Vmon just felt a little bit too inconsistent for me, so I decided not to play it. I'd rather play the searchers instead. Besides, what's a draw to a search most of the time? You know what I mean? You know what I mean? When most of your deck is an option to search, then I'd rather play that. As far as the level 4s go, we are playing the best level 4. This card's just crazy. Magnamon on evolution, obviously as armor purge as a blocker, but specifically being able to gain a bunch of power mid to late game is super good, because then if your opponent has, like, imagine going from a level 3 to like a level 4 that's 15,000 power, because that happens so much. I'm able to swing against over so many level 6s that are just problematic by having like 4, like 2 4, like 2 4 6, like, yeah, if you have 3 in the trash, you're already 6,000 points stronger, so you're 12 or 13,000 DP, which is strong enough to beat over most level 6s. If you have like 5 in the trash, you are now able to beat over things like Dexmon, and that is something that is super important in this deck. And if you evolve this into the Magnamon X, now you have a Magnamon X that it doesn't matter what body they have on board, that Magnamon X is like reaching 20,000 DP, so they can't swing with anything. This includes stuff like Jessmon. My out to Jessmon a lot of the time is on the turn that I feel like they're going to be able to pop off, is evolve into Magnamon X and then evolve into like a 20k power, evolve into Magnamon, then evolve into like a 20k power Magnamon X. Doesn't matter what they do, they just can't swing. So I just get another turn. It's really nice. Obviously, you got to play 4 of this one. Next 4 you have to play is, of course, Lydramon. Lydramon's just ability to rest things that are problematic, such as Gazimons and Psychmons and, you know, all the colors of the rainbow of that kind of guy. Pretty good. It's green. Obviously, you need the green color for your Davis and Ken to give you maximum memory value. And it's more armor, so more ways to restand and whatnot. Just a good card. And Flamedramon, 8,000 power. It's the only reason why you play it. You can always bump this up to 4. Card's just really good. 8,000 power into security is really good in a lot of formats if you don't want to lose your guy. But a lot of the time in armor, you kind of want your armor to break so you can evolve into the other armor version. So that's always like the give and take about playing Flamedramon. So that's why I'm only playing 3. I want to play a 4th one. I really want to be able to find my armors, but I also don't want to brick on my armors. In fact, I'm going to be honest, guys. I bricked off not finding rookies in so many games in the store champs. Every loss that I had was because I could not find a rookie for a few turns where I just had to hard play an armor. But like hard play armor, play the yellow option to evolve in the Magnamon X. It happened a lot. So Flamedramon is decent for sure. And of course, we're playing 1 Lobomon because Lobo for game is still a thing you can do in this game. You can still hybrid for game, and that is always nice. Really good against Blue Flare, obviously. And of course, the beauty about this matchup in Blue Flare is you don't ever have to have more than 2 Digimon on board. You can just raise, swing, jamming, evolve, restand with your Tamer, swing again, and then that gets popped, or you evolve into Magnamon X, or you can get popped again, restand with Magnamon, because Magnamon immediately restands with its own effect, of course, and then swing again, and then Jogris for game, and it's just really that simple. We are playing 2 Shakomon. I like 2. I want to keep testing it. I just like having at least 1 per game. That's why I'm playing 2. I was actually playing none, and then I found that I wanted something that I could do with my armors in case I swing into security and they don't get popped. If they don't get popped, then I can't obviously evolve into a different armor, because I'm not playing armor texture in this deck. I think armor texture is just like a weird brick, so I'm not playing it in this deck. So I wanted something else to do on top of my armors, and like recovery is just free. I didn't feel like I needed Chimera. Chimera's ability to like do minus DP on the board is really nice, but I never have a problem beating over things or clearing board. One, if I'm worried about a bunch of rookies, that's what Magnamon X is for. Like I don't need to, like they can't swing. And 2 is my regular Magnamon can usually, if I set up the game right, swing over anything that's a problem as well. So I don't have a problem with like swinging over things. I know Shaco is a little bit more limited because you have to have exactly Magnamon on your board for Shaco to come into play for the Jogris, but the Jogris is only something you do if you're going for game. I just generally like to hard evolve into this guy for the free recovery because the recovery is just nice. It's just super nice. Obviously you have to have less than 5 security, but we're not playing security control or anything. I'm not like starting my turn with like 7 or 8 security. Although I did have one game where I did go up to 8 security because they just kept, they killed like 3. I recovered first and they killed a bunch of Magnamon X's. So obviously the security gets super high and sometimes it's just too much for your opponent to deal with. So I am a fan of Shakomon. After testing it, huge fan of the Shakomon list. We are playing 4 Magnamon X. It's a little bricky sometimes, but you really need to find it in all of your matchups. The card's just correct right now. It's just, I think it's probably the best defensive option in the game. Obviously, it's going to be weak to things that can bounce it, but there's not a lot of bouncing in this format. It's not a glass format where Garurumon or Metal Gar X is all over the place. Less common, still very good deck. So just gotta dodge it. You know how it is. That's the format that we in. But they can only bounce this if they have if they evolve into the X level 6. I think that's their only way to bouncing this card outside of an option. So obviously weak to bouncing, but they need to get all the way up to their level 6 to bounce this guy in particular. And if you have this on board before they do that, they can't swing with their Were-Gurus. I keep saying Metal Guru. They can't swing with their Were-Gurus over and over and over again because obviously they just die. So that's handy dandy. And I am playing 3 Death X. Obviously, if you don't have 3 Death X, you don't have to play 3 Death X. You can probably play more copies of cards that are not 4-ofs in this deck list. Start with the rookies, of course. But I mean, Death X is just a broken card right now. If you don't have Death X, I would recommend finding a way to get it because it's just super good. Like, think about the format is just filled with either big board Digimon or big board Tamers. Not a lot of single stack decks at the moment, and even some single stack decks play stuff like Cool Boy. You know what I mean? So, and then that's a lot of Tamers they have face down. Sometimes you swing, and I can't tell you the amount of games where I swung at security, hit a bunch of their Tamers, and went, well, now this is free. Hard play Death X. Death X is just crazy. Big difference, and for those of you that have 3. I would recommend playing 3. There was a big difference in like finding my Death X's from 2 to 3. I was playing 2 for a while just because it's a good card, but 3 made it to where I found it all the time when I needed to. So something to think about, but obviously you don't have to play this card if you don't have the access to it. The deck itself, the strategy of the deck itself is good enough without the Death X's. So if you don't have this card but still want to play armor, I would recommend just increasing the consistency. Start with the rookies and maybe play Blue Memory Boost at a higher count, just so you can find your pieces a lot easier, including stuff like Lobomon. So, yep, there's that. And that's it for Digimon. For Tamers, we are playing only 3 Davis and Ken. You could honestly cut this down even lower. Davis and Ken is definitely like an endgame kind of card. It's nice. It's nice for the memory gain, but obviously this deck you don't want to play into Death X either because your deck is super weak to Death X. So I don't want to have a lot of Tamers, and I recommend playing less Tamers so your opponent doesn't hit them in security, and then you're just kind of stuck in the situation where you have like 5 Tamers down in Digimon, and your opponent can Death X you for 2 and just pop your board because de-digivolving against us is really bad. That's why the Black or Gray matchup can sometimes be super rough because of the level 5 that can just de-digivolve you, but they can only do that so many times, and usually you still keep an armor on board in the process. So it's usually not a big deal. You just got to be able to play around what they can do. And the most important part of this guy is the ability to restand, but usually I only ever want 1 on board because 1 on board is enough to give me those extra attacks I need. I don't usually need more than 1 on board, but I do want to find it. So 3 at the moment, but I can see myself cutting down to a 2-2 split, which would also help the risk of bricking on Tamers and bricking on Tamers and security, which you don't want to see in this format a lot. So I can see myself cutting one of these down. I'm gonna keep testing it, obviously. I don't want to play, how do I say this? I'm playing a lot of card games at the moment. I did like 3 nights of Digimon grinding, which is why I came to this deck list after testing a bunch for like 5 hours a night. But I want to play stuff like One Piece because I'm in a new One Piece tournament that I'm really excited about. If you're interested in One Piece, I have a One Piece channel, One Piece TCG channel specifically, as well as Gay Ruler and eventually Pokemon again. We'll see. But that's it for Tamers. Obviously, Memory Tamer, Davis is strong, etc., etc. As far as my options go, 3 Hammer Spark. I just think Hammer Spark's an insane bomb right now. If you play against a Shatmon that gets a little bit too crazy, and you know how Shatmon needs its like extra memory just to make its plays, because it needs 1 memory per attack after it's done its initial green Tamer plays. So having Hammer Spark as a security bomb is really, really strong in that matchup. It's just generally strong in a lot of matchups, having Hammer Spark as a security bomb. Other than that, I mean, being able to extend your plays with Hammer Spark is good. I really want to play 4. I was bricking on 4 though, so I'm down to 3 at the moment. I am only playing 2 Megadeth. It's just my removal option. It's not a very good card in this format because bouncing cards to your opponent's hand is just not good right now. Like I always go to Shoutmon, but there's not a lot of decks in this game where I want them to have access to it again. Cross 5s, cross 4s, Minervas, Black War Grays, all these cards with their Wind Digivolving effects or on-play effects Nope, you don't. I don't want you to have that again. So Megadeth, not a great card, but you still need the spot removal because you never know when spot removal is going to be actually pretty good. Not to mention decent security bomb if you're playing against a big board. If you're playing against a small board though, whew, that blows. 2, Awakening of the Golden Knight. As security can put a Magnum back in your hand, which does come up sometimes. More importantly, you can just evolve any of your armors into any Magnamon, including Magnamon X, and then it can't be DP reduced. Really good against security control, so that you have a free turn, because most of the time security DP reduces to remove you. And this deck is all about outgrinding your opponent too. So sometimes you just outgrind them out of their resources that can remove your Magnamon X, and then eventually you just have a Magnamon X that can no longer be removed, which is really nice. But mostly this is used just to evolve your non-Magnamons into Magnamon X, so that you always have a lion for Magnamon X to be hitting the board. And last but not least, we have 1 blue memory boost, 1 ice wall. Blue memory boost is a flex spot. You can put anything you want here. I just played it because I like having more search options. I wanted to be a little bit more consistent, but I couldn't find space for more than 1. 1 was good enough for me. I liked Hammer Spark more than I liked blue memory boost because of the security bomb of Hammer Spark is really strong in this format. But I didn't want to play 4. I like being able to search. Ice Wall is broken. Should have been completely banned. Should have never been just limited. Just ban that card. It's just too good. It's just not fair. It's just not fair how many games Ice Wall can win you. And that's going to be the deck list, guys. Hope you guys enjoyed. I'm pretty happy that that I qualified for Nats. Now I got to figure out how I'm going to pay to go to Nats. That's the big thing. From Philly to LA by February. That's going to be tough. Drop a like, subscribe, share all the good jazz. I'm going to make a video, I think, talking about my mindset going into BT10 as far as all the decks I want to play, because instead of making a deck profile for you guys that is untested, has no results, etc., etc., I'm not a big fan of making content for the sake of making content, because I don't need to, right? I'm not in a position in my life where I'm grinding YouTube as a job, and because of that, I don't want to bog you guys down with content that I feel like is untested, uneducated. I mean, like, we've all seen channels that just make deck lists that are just like, this deck is super strong, tier 1, and the most they've done is play against like one friend like for like maybe an hour and go like, oh, this deck did really good. I'd rather give you guys deck profiles of decks that I have tested for multiple hours, or decks I have taken to a tournament and have placed somehow. So that's generally what I want to do, but I want to make a video that is like my state, my mindset going into a format where I go over every deck that I feel I have the most interest in at that moment of time, and test all those decks, and then eventually make another video going, here's the findings I had after testing all these decks. Let me know if you guys are interested in something like that. I'm just talking now, so I'm gonna end the video here. Thank you guys for watching. Subscribe, share all that good jazz. If you're going to nationals, let me know, because I want to see if I can find some friends while I'm there. If I go, I gotta find a reason to go. So I gotta find friends that are gonna go. So if you're going to Nats, let a brother know, and I'll see you guys next time.